Welcome to the Ford Brothers podcast. This is the Selling the Country podcast. My name is Tyler Mounts, and I've got Matt Ford here.
Hey, Tyler, how you doing? This is our first podcast, and we have no clue what we're doing, but hopefully it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun, talk a lot about auctions, talk a lot about the company, the history, upcoming auctions, past or recently completed auctions, a lot of fun, and we're going to have a bunch of different guests. We're planning to have guests of like lenders, bankers, title companies. We're gonna have the founders of the company, Sam Ford and Danny Ford, on here eventually. And then a bunch of the auctioneers from our team, and just so on and so forth. We're gonna have lots of episodes with lots of guests.
So I think it will be really neat to see some of the stories from some of these people that have been doing auctions for many years. But it'd also be cool to maybe bring in some farmers that talk about how auctions have helped them maybe sell everything from cattle to their equipment to their farms, to even talk about estate work, some of the things that we specialize in doing, and how we can help the community by the auction method of marketing.
At the end of the day, we have a lot of stories. There's a lot of history here, and a lot of stories, good and bad. Yeah. But there's a lot of stories. We've had a lot of fun. I've been with the company for over 10 years here, so I've got stories, but been around for 60 years. So 60 years of stories, experience. Education, auctions, I mean, you name it, we've done it pretty much. You also name it, we've sold it.
Yeah, we've sold a lot of fun stuff. Dad and Sam, actually Sam's been around selling for 60 years, and Dad shortly thereafter. But some of the stories that they'll be able to bring to the table, I'm really excited to hear about what's next. We've been sort of cutting edge in the auction market. We were the first to bring. I remember the first time we did choice auctions, offering parcels of land at choice, and then later on did multi-par, first around this area to do that, and then the online models, and now we have simulcast. So there's a lot of cool stuff the way the auction market has evolved. I can remember as a kid, carrying tickets. You'd buy something and you'd carry it back to the office where they then did all the paperwork. Nothing was computerized. And I guess we might even have a special guest speaker here. It looks like my dog's here just coming in.
So I might bark a few times.
Maybe this could be the Selling the Country dog.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that would make
You're
it
the mascot.
Yeah, mascot or something. Who knows?
So why are we doing this podcast, Matt? Why do we want to do this? Why do we want to talk about all the history and all the upcoming auctions and everything about auctions? Why would we want to do that?
Well, I think... First off, you and Jacob said it would be a really good idea, and so I'm like, okay,
we are smart fellers. I mean, we're pretty smart.
Yes, something like that. No, I think people want to hear why you're doing what you're doing, and this is a pretty cool way to do that. There's a lot of other auction companies that have got these podcasts out there. It makes me think of years ago. There was an auctioneer in Missouri by the name of Billy Long, who went on, was a congressman, and so on and so forth. And I believe the name of his show was Auctioneers Hour. It's the only hour-long show that lasts 30 minutes because it's done by an auctioneer. And when you're thinking about selling stuff, sometimes you want to sell it and you want to sell it quick. And an auctioneer can get things done in a timely manner. And that's one of the cool things about an auction. And that's probably been 20 years ago. But who knows today what this will entail? Who knows how many stories will come up from just the podcast? I have watched a lot of podcasts because my kids have gotten into sports. So we're a sponsor of 12th Region Sports because it really fits a lot of our coverage area, whether that's, pretty much in the entire 12th Region, we have offices. It really, Kenny and those guys, man, they do a good job and make it exciting, make it fun. And granted, it's always fun to talk about football and basketball and baseball and soccer and all those things, but I think auctions are maybe just as much fun to talk about, and I think our community loves auctions, and they always have. They've been really good to us, so maybe we'll just sit around and talk about auctions all day.
I mean, some of the times that we, after auctions, we go to eat or dinners or banquets or whatever we've had in the past, we've just sat around and talk about stories and listening to the guys that have been around for 50 plus years talk about those stories. It's so fun, so interesting, and we hope to get that on the podcast. I mean, eventually we want all of those guys to come in, tell stories. I mean, there's some of them just a hoot. You would never even believe some of the stories, and it's just going to be a lot of fun to get that and actually get it recorded and documented and get those out there to the public. I mean, I think they're going to enjoy it just as much as we do.
I hope so. I think it'll be fun. The other thing I think for marketing for us to make sure that people know about what's coming up and maybe what's just happened, I think it's good for us to tell the story of, hey, we just so last night we did an auction for Campbellsville University. The auction went great. I think we had like 30 something bidders online. It was a unique piece of property right there on the main drag. It used to be a car lot or something years ago, and then the school had been using it. And last night, buyer bought it. I think it was $138,000 plus buyer's premium, and they were tickled. Actually, this morning they've already called and said, "Hey, we want to close tomorrow." Title work and so forth takes a little longer than that, but we're going to push it along as fast as possible. But really, some neat stories, and we can talk about auctions. What is? I get this question all the time. What is the average price per acre? Well, in the 12th region, it can vary very big depending on.
5 miles down the road can change a lot.
Yeah, well, lay of the land. I went and met with somebody yesterday, and they were talking about a farm at about $20,000-$30,000 an acre. Now, that farm laid about as flat as this table. It was perfect. And they had a farm, well, it wasn't as flat, but they were comparing this perfect farm to this not so perfect farm. And literally within a mile and a half away, you have two different values of farms simply because of the way they lay.
Yeah, I think people want to compare apples to apples, but really almost every farm compared to one another is apples to oranges, right? I mean,
yes.
I mean, the neighboring farm might lay flat, and the other, this farm might lay, rolly. I mean, it might have a cattle facility, and it, might not. Just every farm is different, and you can never compare one to another. Everybody wants to hem us into something. They want to say, okay, well, what's the price per acre in this area, like you said, and it's like, okay, well, we're gonna have to come out and look at it and evaluate it. But that's what our team does. Our team goes out, we'll walk the farm with you, we'll drive around, ride a side by side, drive in truck, whatever you want to do. We'll go look at it, and then at the end of the day, we're gonna give you a pretty good estimate what we think it values at. I mean, well, we sure ain't gonna tell you what it's gonna bring on auction day, but what do we want to do at auction day? We want to beat what we thought.
Yeah, we want to under promise and over deliver. That's something Sam and Dad have instilled in us. Hey, don't go out here and blow a bunch of smoke and say it's going to bring something it's not. Book a sale where you book it, and at the end of the day they go, well, it brought more than I expected, and that's our goal. We are just the scorekeepers of the market, really. And if you really want true market value, go out there and put it up at auction.
Yeah,
it'll get you. So
we are believers, and we preach it every day. So
yes.
And just like the building that sold last night, it brought more than we thought it was going to bring at the end of the day. And I think, and you said the seller was tickled to death this morning.
But the buyer too. I mean, the buyer was tickled because he had a use for it. He had a purpose for it. A deal is only in the eye of the beholder. Most of the time, you want the buyers to walk away and feel good too. So it's a really cool marketing method that we're a big part of, and auctions just work in this area, and encourage you, if you've got a farm, you got some equipment, you've got an estate, something like that, and you don't know what to do, at least call us. Let us come and talk to you about some options. An auction might be part of it. It might be an online sale, might be a live sale, it might be simulcast. Simulcast means you're bidding on site, but you're also bidding in person. So we have pretty much any and every tool available. Now, there's a lot of times we'll go out and look at an auction and go, hold on, this won't work for an auction. And we also have a real estate division that we could refer that business over to. So.
Well, we prefer to come out and evaluate and look it over. I mean, we have the most resources in Southern Kentucky. I feel like we offer the most options in auctions. We have staff to back it up. We can do any type of auction. We have the resources to handle it any which way possible. I've always said, Ford Brothers has so many different resources as far as how we can handle any type of auction. There's auctioneers out there that hem themselves into one way or the other. They only do online, or they only do live, or they don't have online cataloging capability. We have everything. We have the full gambit. We have everything. And coming out and looking at those, looking at whatever you said, like estate, commercial property, farm, whatever. We've experienced. We know how to take care of it. We're going to come out and give you the best options for that sale. And maybe it is an auction, but we can handle it regardless of what the situation is. So where to find the podcast is it's going to be out there as many different places as possible, but we're going to have it in I think it's called Apple Music or iTunes now. I'm not sure what they call themselves now. Buzzsprout, it's going to be on there, and then Spotify. We're going to get it there. This video is actually going to be on YouTube. And it'll be on our social media channels as well in different clips. You can subscribe, listen, however you want to. It'll be readily available. We'll have links to it on all of our social media channels and eventually our website as well. So we would love for you guys to follow along, subscribe. We'll be doing these every couple weeks. So,
Yeah, and Tyler, one nice thing, Jacob can edit when I mess up.
Yeah.
So that's nice. It's
we've only messed up 2 or 3 times.
2 or 3 times we've off track, but that makes it fun.
So Matt, why don't you explain to us the full process of what Ford Brothers is, how they handle auctions, how they handle real estate? Tell the audience a little bit more about what we do on an everyday basis, and on how we handle some of the situations that we're talking about.
I would say we're farm specialists. We sell a lot of farms. I think because of our multi-part method of auctioning, we can get top dollar for those farms. So many times when that farm's passing to the next generation, there needs to be a transfer of ownership, and many times we're able to help make sure that asset brings as much as it possibly can. Also, we do a lot of estate work. We can go in and I feel like we can solve a lot of problems. So both my grandparents' estates, it's not an easy thing to do because there's emotional attachment. There's a lot of, it's like, wow, this was, grandma's this, and so we really take a lot of pride in making sure whenever we're selling somebody's estate, because we've lived through that, how do you best represent that family? How do you honor the person that has passed? And we really want to do an excellent job when we're doing estate work. In addition to estate work, we do a lot of just, hey, I need to sell this commercial piece of property, or I need to sell this house and lot, and I need to get it done quick because, all right, I'm moving to Texas, or I'm moving to Florida, or I'm moving wherever. Most people sell a property because of life changes.
You said it right a while ago. We're problem solvers a lot of times.
Yeah, we're able to. All right, I've got this issue over here, and it's got maybe it's got all these tractors, and it's got maybe these kids don't know anything about tractors. Well, I grew up on a tractor. It's a 3930 Ford, little blue one. It was, but we got a whole crew that knows how to go in and work this stuff, move this stuff out, take pictures of it. Whether you're doing a live sale or an online sale, we can get it done for you.
Yeah, I think in-house we have a lot of experts. We farms, we know the land. We're specialized in that. Farm equipment, we have a lot of guys. A lot of our auctioneers are farmers themselves. We have guns, coins, and knives experts. In our staff and in our auctioneers. We have commercial property brokers and people that are experts in that field. You go down the line, and we have experts in those. But Matt, also in that realm of things, talk a little bit about our affiliation with Martinet Alliance and how that expertise actually comes in to play with how we book auctions and how we can handle auctions in situations for people, and we can fix their problem.
Yeah. So Martinet Alliance, we joined Martinet, I think, in 2009. And that's when we started doing a lot more. We had done a few online auctions, but we really started doing more online auctions. And so as an independent, it was tough. And we were independent for 47 years. So we're actually part of an auction franchise. So if you book with us, there's about 75 auction companies across the country. If somebody's looking for a farm in Kentucky, or if they're looking for a lake house in Kentucky, they can get on those other websites and find your information. I think that just makes, the world's a whole lot smaller today than it was 30 years ago when I was really starting. 25 years ago, I guess. But I guess the exposure that Martinet brings to us, so we're not just going in as one company, we're going in as 75 companies and getting that exposure. And then it always keeps us, Martinet keeps us top of mind in our tools. We have more tools than an individual auction company could have, just because we collectively pull and buy. We build building platforms. We got an awesome bidding platform. We have simulcast. We've got all these technology things, and then we brainstorm about, all right, how is the best way to market properties? Well, if you're still doing it like you were doing it in 1982, it probably doesn't work.
Probably not gonna get the word out there very well.
I would have never thought that I'd be doing a podcast. Okay, I hate, getting like being the face. I would much rather be behind the scenes. Now, that's odd as an auctioneer, but I would rather, like, you all go sell it and let me do all the work behind the scenes. And and I feel like I'll get up and do my auction if I need to. But to do a podcast, I don't know. But all these other people are doing it, and they're having success. They're having people follow them, and I think it's generationally in this right here. People watch this much more. I'm an auctioneer, and all the time I get people fussing at me for not doing enough live auctions. We're still doing, I think, well over 100 live auctions every year, and we've done over 100 live auctions for years, but now we've added about 200 online auctions. So our capacity to do live auctions is probably 150 or 200 live auctions a year, and if we can double our viewership and double exposure by doing some online stuff, why not? And we have buyers for both sides. Some people, I'll never go to a live auction because I don't have time. And then other people are fussing at it, like, or maybe they're, most of them are fussing, or you don't have enough live auctions. I'm like, I had one this past weekend, and I had one the weekend before, and it's like, please start coming to these, because one thing, attendance at live auctions is not what it was, because most things are awful simulcast. We had a sale 2 weeks ago, and I had I think a handful of people in person and 37 people bidding online.
Yeah.
And the online bidders were just bidding away, and the people in person were just sitting there sort of watching, and they're like, I brought too much. I'm like, well, these people online didn't think so.
When people say that we don't have live auctions anymore, I want to be like, you don't understand how much this guy right here hates to not be working on a Saturday. I mean, and we work the majority of the Saturdays. If there's 52 weeks in a year, we're working probably 45 of those. It feels like, and
we better be working 45 of those.
Yeah. There's going to be a few that we're not going to work, So, Christmas week, we don't normally work, but 45, 46, weeks out of the year, we're working on a Saturday.
You know who hates it worse than me?
Your dad.
No, my wife, because I drive her crazy. Dad does it. Dad wants to come to an auction every Saturday, but my wife really, she's like, you drive me nuts if you don't have an auction. So yes, I want to have a live auction every week.
These ice storms killed me recently.
Yeah, in 10, online sales. That doesn't hurt my feelings, but yeah.
Going back to the technology you was talking about, Martinet keeps us on the forefront. Gives us all the tools and resources. But like 10 years ago when I started in my short tenure, who would have thought we would have a TikTok account? Like,
well, nobody even
you've
heard
probably
of it
never
yet.
even been on it, but we have TikTok. We're doing the podcast now. We have an Instagram, Facebook. We have all that. We do Instagram Reels. We're doing video. I mean, just the way things have changed. When I first started, we did a lot of traditional marketing, flyers, real estate, radio, newspaper, and Facebook. Facebook was like, okay, we're getting into this pretty heavy. We're going to do Facebook. Now it's that we can do Google, we can do YouTube, we can do videos, we can do social media, we can do everything.
One of the things there, you're talking about technology, and I think we're going to see it advance a lot more real quick. But our cataloging software now is, you can take a picture and it will describe the item through AI. And no, we have to go back and make sure it's describing it right. But it really is a cool thing to think of, that technology is, all right, we take 20 pictures whatever it is, his truck, and it describes it's a Ford F-150, whatever, whatever year. You put the VIN number in there, and it gets all the information out there. It's pretty, technology, and again, that's something provided by MarkNet for us, so which really, keeps us cutting edge.
Matt, let's talk a little bit about what's the future. What's the future, and we'll talk about first what's the future of the upcoming auctions, and what's the future down the road the next 3 or 4 months in Ford Brothers world, and then we'll come back and talk about the podcast, what the future for the podcast is. But
Todd's got a really nice 200 acres down in Monticello, mostly wooded, got some timber on it, got a little bit of cleared field. That's here in a couple weeks.
That one's coming up pretty quick. It's February 28th.
Yeah, it's right around the corner.
Yeah.
Then we've got the first week of March. We've got an awesome farm not a farm, a house, and overlooking the lake. The Spears House down off of 1248, like you're going to
Fishing Creek.
Yeah, Fishing Creek. Yeah. Really cool cabin. It's got an extra lot. Really got some potential there. I know we just booked a farm out Nancy for the first week of June. We have booked the first week of May, Derby Day. Got 189 acres, Coleman Road, Pine Hill Road, 39.
We may never sell a better farm on Derby Day than this farm that we're selling this year.
I love Derby Day auctions. Those are good. But we've got a lot of cool stuff coming up. We got our farm equipment sale that ends here in a week or two.
Ends on March 2nd.
March 2nd. So a lot of auctions coming up, and people are booking auctions left and right. Ron just booked a real nice lake house down on Military. I think it's maybe the 14th of March. There's a lot of auctions coming up. We've also always got Mike Broughton just booked 400 guns. There's a situation where
we have over 400 or 500 guns in the office at the auction center.
Yeah, but by the time this podcast is over, they might be sold. But we're selling a bunch of guns right now, and some really cool guns. I was out there when the guys were cataloging the other day, and I'm like, that's awesome. Yeah, and there's a situation too. Mike Broughton's. I think they're going. The people that we're selling for is going into assisted living. They couldn't keep the guns, and there's things in life that sometimes you have to make some hard choices, and they were ready to sell these. So
I think
we're ready to help.
This guy was a collector, and his passion was the guns, but now his passion has become part of his retirement, and that's helpful long term.
Yeah.
For the rest of his life, and something else coming up too. We have a sports collectible auction. We've never really done a sports collectible auction geared to just sports collectibles and collectibles in general, but
not since you've been here.
Well, I just meant
years ago we did.
We did. Okay.
Yeah, you
see. I told you I only had a 10-year short tenure.
Yeah, just 10 years. I'll tell you. Yeah. We've done that before. We had sports collectibles and a Star Wars auction.
Star Wars.
It was anyways, it was interesting. So
it's gonna be fun. Something different in the office. But what do you see the future in the podcast though? What are we gonna do? Maybe throw out some hints of some guests you might have on, or what do you think?
Maybe other auctioneers from out of state come in and talk to us. Hey, how are you doing this? How are you doing that? Maybe somebody in the cattle industry. I mean, the cattle market is crazy right now. I think maybe talk to some other farmers that are maybe in the soybean corn business. Talk about, hey, all right, does corn and soybean, a few years ago, everybody was going that route. Well, now everybody's wanting to transition back to cattle. It's sort of always an evolving market. And does that affect your real estate prices? Probably does. So I'd love to talk to some of those people. Financing, I think we'd love to have some people that do farm loans, do residential loans, some of those kind of things. I owe all the bankers in town, so I probably need to be very careful not to make any of them mad.
You and me and your uncles and everybody.
Yeah, we owe all of them. There's maybe some community leaders about, hey, where do you want to see, maybe talk about the mega site deal that in Rockcastle. Does that change the value of real estate there? And that's...
It impacts that area.
Lincoln and Garrett and, all that. If something comes, wow. It could really affect things. So just sitting down and
talking. This week there was a battery plant maybe coming to Mercer County, and that's affecting the area because some people don't want it, but it's the industry that we're going towards. we're all this AI and all these batteries and drones and just so on and so forth.
And does it affect farmland or your house? Does it go up or down? Maybe bring some people in to talk about those things. I don't know that I have a 100% answer on all those. I may have an opinion, but I don't know this is necessarily an opinion-based podcast.
But I mean, we're going to bring in people that would, be able to answer these questions and give you some more insight. Something we talked about in the past and we hope to do one day is get a seller and a buyer of a farm on here at the same time.
Yeah.
Because who's ever documented that experience? Usually a seller needs to sell and has to sell, and there's a reason for it, and the buyer wants it, and they close and then they go their separate ways.
Right.
How cool would it be, to have a nice, a seller that was ecstatic with the sale and a buyer who was also ecstatic about the property he bought, get that experience documented. I mean, I think that would be a really cool conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe it's a farm that we've sold. Maybe it's a really cool, Chip Pierce just did a video about a car that he sold, and it had been, in the family for so long. And then the widow had decided to sell it, and, they'd been offered lowball numbers, and then Chip's like, no, it'll bring more than that. You need to sell it. And I forget what it done, but it significantly better than her selling it to her neighbor, her supposedly friend. Thought they were, given fair market. But whenever you really expose it to the world through our bidding platform, you can really reach the world.
I got a question for you, Matt. What's one of your most favorite memories at the auction? You've been doing this for almost 30 years, is that right?
Well, see, I've been doing it since birth. So grew up in the industry. I can remember doing all the fun stuff. Like Dad had a sale over in Lincoln County. I think it was the first real sale. I was probably 10 or 12 years old, before child labor laws. But I worked on this truck, and it was an old farm truck, and I'm telling you, it was nearly new. So they put me on cleaning that thing, and I cleaned, and the truck sold extremely well, simply because we did all the prep to get it to sell well. Yeah. But I would say, I guess my younger years was going with my dad, because dad was in the state legislature for years, so many times I didn't see him from January to April, but just a little bit, and the little bit was when I got to go to the auction with him. So man, I can tell some stories between Dad and Jerry Ham, and some of the experiences, like just watching these sales, and those are some of the best memories as a kid. But now, like, I don't know, just watching other auctioneers grow, looking at the business and say, all right, here's something that we started 8 or 10 years ago, and now it's grown into something pretty cool. A lot of people question whether the auction center would ever work. The equipment sales, they continue to grow. Guns, I was reluctant to do all the licensing for the ATF, and I was like, man, I really don't want to go to jail. And we've got that system down now. I think it's
evolving. They've been doing it digitally going forward. Andy's been looking into that.
Yeah, so there's always some cool stuff. Last May, I was able to take my son to work a sale with my dad, and I thought that was pretty cool. The first time that my son and Brian was just helping. He wasn't actually, he's not an auctioneer yet, but I think he's going to go to auction school, but he has no clue what he's going to do with life. But that's fun. At 18,
did we at 18?
18, no, you're not supposed to have that off.
I was probably close to 30 before I even got into this. Or I was over 30, I guess. No. I was about 28 when I got into this industry. But life changes.
And that was just a weird. You came to an open house. One of your friends was having, and I was there, and I was like, and you got talking a little technology. I was like, hey, by the way, I'm sort of been looking for somebody technology. Would you want to maybe have a different job? And I don't know.
Yeah,
you're stuck with me now.
I kind of got into the industry about. I always tell everybody it's a backwards way how I got into it, but it's love, basically kind of like love at first sight. I've always enjoyed auctions as a kid. So I mean, it was a different way to get into it. A lot of people are born into it. I'm a first generation auctioneer, so I guess my kids are now born into it because I didn't have kids when I started the job, but it's been rewarding for me to be a part of this company for 10 years. I don't know that you truly answered the question with your favorite memory, but you did give a lot of
Favorite memory of an auction. Wow. I don't. I mean,
you gave a lot of
so
insight
many.
there.
I'll tell you.
You talked about fixing the truck up. That was
pretty cool. I'll tell you a story. So years ago, I remember it was first part of the year because there was Dad drove, Jerry Ham was on the other side of me, and I sat on calendars. There was calendars about that big, and we were, every year we would give away calendars, and so I wrote on the calendars on the way there, and it was way over in eastern Kentucky, and we sold just a rough little piece of ground, sold it and got done, and the guy said, I'll be right back. I gotta go get my money. And Dad's like, okay, I don't know you, but okay, we'll work through this. And he says, I'll tell you what, I'll meet you at such and such store down here. Dad knew where the store was at. And, well, we drove to the store. Everybody seemed to sort of know this guy there. A few minutes seemed like forever before he gets there. Dad's starting to get nervous, and finally he rolls in, and he's like, I got the money. And I was like, okay. He's like, I got it all. And I forget, it was $50,000 or something.
Yeah, we probably only needed the deposit, right?
Yeah, we just needed the deposit. The guy's like, no, I'll just go ahead and pay for it. And Dad's like, okay, we'll take your money. Well, he starts pulling out of his bib overalls, $100 bills, and you could tell that they looked like they had been dug up. But that was a pretty cool, as a kid, to see like somebody go out, like buy something, and then they go and they're gone for 30 minutes, and they come back and they're actually counting out bills. And I just, my eyes sort of got real big as a kid. I was like, oh gosh. And I guess even today, I probably would, eyes would get pretty big if somebody done that.
This has been our first episode. We kind of maybe fumbled through it or whatever. We'll get better, we hope. But we appreciate each and every one of you guys listening. We hope you guys see all of our podcasts and listen to it however you can. Like I said, it's going to be on YouTube and Buzzsprout and Spotify and iTunes. So, subscribe, join us along this journey. I think the coolest thing is that we're going to get so many stories and so much information and education from so many different people over time. We hope to do this for years, and we hope to just, the whole time I've just been sitting here thinking about the stories that can be told. Like you said, the Jerry Hams of the world, who can sit down here and for 6 hours probably just tell you, we're not going to record him for 6 hours, but for hours on end, he could just talk and tell you story after story. And I've got so many that I could think of that, have been told to me, but I didn't live them. Getting those guys down to talk about those stories and live, we've had auctions that have exceeded expectations. We've had some that, maybe they were okay. We've had some that maybe we were threatened for our life that day. Maybe we had to carry a pistol on our side that day because the family was crazy. Maybe some of us have.
Are we allowed to talk about those in public? I mean, yeah, those are. Yeah, I have. I've had a few of those.
I mean, there's been times. I think there's been times with probably people have survived, literally survived. Maybe they were in an experience or situation where death would have been on the table. So many. I'm just trying to give some hints out there to the stories that we've experienced over the years. And no, it isn't all doom and gloom. A lot of times we're excited to sell the farm. We're excited to see what it brings. A lot of times we kind of get together and talk about, hey, we think it may bring this. And then we're just ecstatic at the end of the day that it brought 20, 30, 40% more than what we thought. Collectively as a group, yeah, we're experienced and we've done this a long time. But at the end of the day, the buyer is the chess master. If there's a couple of them competing, which I love the competitive bidding of auctions. And so if they get together and they butt heads, what a fun day we're going to have. Yeah. And letting that true market value come out at the end of the day is why we bleed auctions. That's why we think they're tried and true, and we enjoy every bit of them.
And I would say, sort of in closing, if you've got things you would love for us to talk about, we're talking about all these stories, but maybe that's not important to you. Maybe you want to know, hey, how do I get financing, or how do I maybe you're in Tennessee or Texas and you need to know something about an auction. We've got members in Tennessee and Texas, so it might not be that we're able to travel to you, because I'm a Kentucky boy. I want to sell stuff here. I want to sleep in my own bed. That's my model is not to travel everywhere in the world to sell auctions.
Anytime we travel away from home, well, what do you say? You always say, I'm going back to Kentucky. Just
That's
go
right.
back home.
Yeah, I want to go back home. So yeah, it's
We could be down the street 10 miles and we still say we're going back to Kentucky.
yeah, that's right. We want to get to Kentucky. Want to sleep in my own bed. There are places that we can help people. Even if they're in Tennessee, we've got a lot of partners down there. Indiana, Ohio, you name it. We've got people that can help you do these things. We're pretty much we're Kentucky boys and girls, and we want to make sure that you're taken care of here at home. So, but if you do have awesome content, like, hey, give us some ideas.
Yeah, sure.
We'll throw some content out there, and hope you enjoy this podcast, and appreciate you for chiming in.
I'm in 40, bought a pound, bought a 40 pound, 100,
Going, sold!
Ford Brothers Auctioneers, we're selling the country.